All right, let's dive in. Today, we're taking a look at the Nigerian Army Doctrine, their playbook
That's right.
for handling pretty much everything from Boko Haram to peacekeeping.
Yeah.
If you follow international affairs, security, or how militaries adapt to all these crazy challenges, you're going to love this.
It's fascinating stuff.
Our source is this great article breaking down the core principles in evolution.
Right.
And trust me, it's quite a journey through all these changing security landscapes they have to deal with.
So what we're going to uncover is how this doctrine shapes everything.
Yeah.
From those counterterrorism strategies all the way to those peacekeeping operations in West Africa.
Exactly. So maybe first we start with the basics. What is a military doctrine?
Well, it's like a set of guidelines, right, that influence a military's actions.
Okay.
Both in peacetime and wartime.
Gotcha.
It's like a blueprint that guides their preparation, helps them be effective, and helps them to respond to any kind of security threat.
Okay.
And I think what makes the Nigerian Army Doctrine so interesting
Yeah.
is that it has to adapt to like a wide range of challenges.
So it's not just about fighting war.
Oh, no.
It's about like a lot of different stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. It covers supporting the civilian authorities during elections, responding to natural disasters, and even those international peacekeeping efforts.
Wow, that's a lot to juggle.
Yeah.
I guess that's why understanding the core components of this doctrine is so important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So the article outlines 4 key pillars.
Okay.
Offensive operations, defensive operations, stabilization operations, and joint and combined operations.
Gotcha.
To give you an example, think of Boko Haram.
Right.
Offensive operations might target their hideouts, while stabilization operations could, support civilian authorities during elections in those regions.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
You can't approach a peacekeeping mission the same way you would a counterterrorism operation.
No, exactly. So when we talk about these offensive operations, it's not just about brute force.
Right.
The doctrine really stresses the importance of, intelligence gathering, strategic planning, and then the use of specialized units.
Right.
Think of it as like a carefully orchestrated symphony of actions rather than a blunt instrument.
And I imagine knowing the terrain also plays a big role, right?
Oh, yeah.
Especially when you're dealing with groups like Boko Haram.
Yeah.
Who operate in these really remote and challenging areas.
Yeah, so the Sambisa Forest, which is this dense, sprawling area, has been like a particularly difficult challenge for the Nigerian Army.
Okay.
To operate effectively there, they've had to like really adapt their strategies.
Okay, so they have to be flexible, adjust to the situation and the environment.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
And then we have defensive operations, which are all about protecting those key assets, denying access to the adversaries, and maintaining the territorial integrity of Nigeria.
Yeah.
This can involve anything from fortifying those borders to setting up strategic defenses around critical infrastructure.
Right.
But it's not just about guarding passively. The doctrine also emphasizes active defense.
So even on the defensive, they're not just sitting back and waiting.
No, exactly.
Okay.
It means, constant threat monitoring, gathering intelligence, and then being ready to launch counterattacks when necessary.
Okay.
Now, where things get really intriguing, I think, is with stabilization operations. It's all about, restoring order, rebuilding infrastructure, and supporting civilian authorities in areas affected by conflict or disaster.
Gotcha.
So think peacekeeping missions, humanitarian aid, even election support.
Right.
So in these situations, it's like diplomacy and cultural sensitivity become just as important as those combat skills.
So it's almost like they have to become community builders as well.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So imagine a soldier not only securing an area, but also helping to distribute aid, or ensuring that a voting process is peaceful.
It's a very different skill set.
Yeah.
Okay.
And finally, we have joint and combined operations.
Okay.
Which basically means working with other branches of the military and even foreign troops.
So, like, in today's world, it's all about collaboration.
Yeah, right.
Not just going it alone.
Exactly. And this is especially important for Nigeria.
Okay.
Because they play such a key role in regional security and often contribute troops to international efforts.
Gotcha.
Now, these four pillars, offensive, defensive, stabilization, and joint operations, they didn't just appear overnight.
Right.
They evolved over time, shaped by, Nigeria's unique history.
Okay, so let's rewind the clock a bit.
Yeah.
Explore this evolution.
Okay.
Where did it all begin?
So the roots of the Nigerian Army doctrine can be traced back to the colonial era, when the Army was heavily influenced by British military strategies.
So you're saying a force designed for colonial control had to adapt to a civil war.
Yeah.
And the rise of Boko Haram. That's a huge shift.
It is.
Talk about adapting on the fly.
Yeah, absolutely.
So after independence in 1960, what happened? Did they just toss out the old playbook?
Well, there was definitely a push to move away from that colonial model and develop a more nationalized approach. However, the Nigerian Civil War exposed some serious shortcomings in this new doctrine.
Oh, okay.
The army wasn't fully prepared for such a large-scale internal conflict.
Right.
They lacked experience in counterinsurgency tactics.
Yeah.
And their logistics and communication systems weren't really up to the task.
So the Civil War was a harsh lesson, but a valuable one.
Oh yeah.
In adapting to a new reality.
Absolutely.
Gotcha.
It led to major reforms, with a focus on developing those capabilities in counterinsurgency, intelligence gathering, and rapid deployment. Then came the Cold War. Right. And Nigeria's involvement in peacekeeping missions.
So they went from fighting a war at home to promoting peace abroad.
Exactly.
Wow.
They needed a whole new set of skills and strategies. Diplomacy, negotiation, cultural sensitivity. It all became crucial. The doctrine had to encompass multinational cooperation, peace enforcement, and conflict resolution.
Sounds like they were learning on the job, but also becoming a regional power and peacekeeper.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And this experience was really invaluable as Nigeria became like a major contributor to peacekeeping missions, particularly within West Africa.
Gotcha.
But the story doesn't end there.
Right.
The rise of terrorism, especially the threat of Boko Haram, forced yet another major shift in the doctrine.
So how did they adapt to this new era of asymmetric warfare?
Well, counterterrorism and counterinsurgency became central to their planning.
Right.
They had to develop new tactics to deal with these unconventional threats with a greater emphasis on intelligence gathering, special operations, and then working closely with local communities to gain trust and then disrupt those insurgent networks.
So it's not just about military might anymore.
No.
It's about winning hearts and minds. Yeah. Using a more nuanced approach.
Yeah, precisely.
Yeah.
And of course, technologies play a huge role.
Right.
The Nigerian army has been investing in new equipment and training to enhance their capabilities in surveillance, communication, and then rapid response.
So it's a dynamic document.
It is.
That reflects this ever-changing security landscape.
Exactly, yeah. It shows their adaptability and commitment to fulfilling all those diverse roles, both domestically and internationally. Right. But what really drives this doctrine are the core principles that underpin it all. Right. It's not just a list of tactics. It's like a philosophy of how they approach conflict and security.
Okay, so what are those guiding principles that give us a glimpse into their mindset?
All right. Well, the first and arguably most important is mission command.
Okay.
It's all about decentralized decision making. So while strategic goals are set at the top, commanders on the ground are given significant autonomy to adapt their tactics based on the situation.
Right. So it's like giving those on the front lines the power to make decisions in in the heat of the moment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Flexibility and adaptability are paramount.
Gotcha.
The next principle, unity of effort, stresses the importance of, seamless teamwork.
Right.
Not just within the Army,
Yeah.
but also with other branches of the armed forces,
right.
civilian agencies, and even international partners.
So breaking down silos,
yeah.
fostering collaboration, that's crucial?
Oh, absolutely. Okay. Think of it as like an intricate web of actors, right? Yeah. Working together to achieve a shared goal. And this interconnectedness leads us to another vital principle, adaptability and innovation.
Given how much the security landscape has changed,
yeah.
I can definitely see why that's so important.
It is. Yeah. The Nigerian Army recognizes that that threats are constantly evolving. They need to stay ahead of the curve,
right.
constantly anticipating and preparing for what might come next.
Okay.
This means being open to new technologies,
right.
new enemy tactics, and new types of conflict.
So it's not just reacting.
Right.
It's proactively developing new solutions.
Yeah, exactly.
It's almost like playing chess where the rules are constantly changing.
Exactly. Yeah. And then we have a logistical preparedness.
Right.
Maybe not the the most glamorous topic, but vital for any military operation.
Okay.
The doctrine emphasizes the importance of efficient logistics and supply chains, ensuring that soldiers have the necessary equipment, ammunition, food, and medical supplies.
Right, especially in challenging environments like the Sambisa forest.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Getting supplies into those areas is incredibly difficult.
Yeah.
But absolutely essential.
Right.
A well-supplied army is a confident and effective army.
Gotcha. Okay.
And now we come to a principle that's particularly relevant in counterinsurgency and peacekeeping, civic-military relations.
This is where that hearts and minds concept comes in.
Exactly, yeah. Okay. The doctrine highlights the importance of building those positive relationships with local communities.
Right, because they're often caught in the crossfire or even the target of the insurgency.
Yeah. Winning their trust and cooperation is absolutely crucial.
So it's about demonstrating that the Army is there to help protect, not to be feared.
Exactly. This involves respecting those local customs, engaging with community leaders, providing humanitarian assistance, and ensuring that soldiers conduct themselves professionally.
It's about showing the human face of the Army.
Exactly. And finally, we come to a principle that's fundamental to any modern military. Respect for human rights and international law.
It's about, being a responsible actor on the world stage.
Precisely.
Right.
So the doctrine explicitly states that soldiers must adhere to these standards, both domestically and in international missions.
Okay.
Now, this isn't just about, legal obligations. It's about maintaining that legitimacy of the Army in the eyes of both the Nigerian people and the international community.
It's really impressive how these principles reflect this evolving nature of conflict, right?
Right, it is, yeah.
Moving beyond just military force to incorporate strategy, collaboration, and winning that trust of the people they are tasked to protect.
Yeah.
It's like a multifaceted approach to tackling these complexities.
It is. So now let's move from theory to practice.
Okay.
How does this doctrine actually play out in the real world?
All right, that's what I'm eager to find out.
Okay. Yes.
Where do we begin?
Let's start with their most pressing challenge, counterinsurgency and counterterrorism operations, particularly against Boko Haram.
Okay.
This is where we see those 4 pillars in action.
Right.
But it's important to remember the nuances of how they operate.
So it's not just a cookie-cutter approach.
No, exactly. And intelligence plays like a crucial role.
Right.
They aren't just going in with, guns blazing.
Right.
It's about gathering intel from various sources, human intelligence, signals intelligence, aerial surveillance, to really understand, the enemy.
Okay.
Their networks, their movements, their vulnerabilities.
So it's about being smart.
Yeah.
And strategic.
Yeah.
Not just Forceful.
Precisely. And then they use that intelligence to plan and execute operations, often involving specialized units like special forces.
Right, because those units are trained for high-risk missions, covert operations, things like that.
Exactly. They're the tip of the spear, but they're not operating in isolation.
Okay.
They're part of a larger effort that involves conventional troops, air support, and even collaboration with local vigilante groups.
So this emphasizes that counterinsurgency is not just a military problem, it's a multifaceted challenge that requires this comprehensive approach.
Yeah, involving civilian agencies, local communities, and even international partners.
It's not just about defeating the enemy on the battlefield.
Right.
It's about building a more stable and secure environment for everybody.
Exactly. And that brings us to another key challenge for the Nigerian army, operating in that difficult terrain where Boko Haram often hides out.
Right.
Like the Sambisa forest.
Yeah, that dense forest makes traditional military operations very difficult.
Oh, absolutely. So how do they adapt?
Well, the doctrine stresses mobility and adaptability.
Okay.
They can't rely solely on heavy armor.
Yeah.
And those traditional tactics, they're using smaller, more agile units, light vehicles, and then an air power to strike at those Boko Haram targets.
Gotcha.
So it's about tailoring their approach to that specific terrain and the enemy they're facing.
So while counterinsurgency is a major focus, they're also heavily involved in peacekeeping and stabilization missions,
particularly in West Africa.
Yeah.
How does the doctrine guide their actions in these very different scenarios?
Well, that's where we see a different side of the doctrine.
Right.
It's not just about fighting.
Yeah.
It's about preventing conflicts, resolving them, and building peace.
Okay.
It involves a whole different set of skills and approaches.
Like diplomacy, negotiation, mediation, cultural sensitivity.
Precisely. And the doctrine reflects this by emphasizing working with, local communities.
Right.
Building trust and respecting those local customs.
Okay.
It's about, understanding those root causes of the conflict, facilitating dialogue between those warring factions, and creating the conditions for, lasting peace.
So it's not just about, imposing a solution from the outside.
No, exactly.
It's about facilitating a process that leads to a more, sustainable peace.
Exactly. And Nigeria's experience in those peacekeeping missions has been invaluable in shaping this aspect of the doctrine. They've participated in missions across Africa, gaining that valuable experience working with troops from other countries.
So they're contributing not just troops, but also expertise.
Absolutely. And this brings us to another crucial application of the doctrine, internal security operations.
This is an interesting shift back to the domestic front.
Yeah.
Go.
So the doctrine recognizes that the Army has a vital role in maintaining law and order, especially in a country as large and diverse as Nigeria, which faces many internal security challenges.
Right.
These can range from communal violence to organized crime to even election-related unrest.
So how does the doctrine guide their actions in these sensitive situations?
Well, the emphasis is on coordination with civilian law enforcement, respecting human rights, and then using force only as like a last resort.
Right.
Their role is primarily to provide backup and support to the police, particularly when the police are overwhelmed or require additional resources.
So, for example, during elections, they might be deployed to secure polling stations, maintain order, things like that.
Exactly. Or in cases of communal violence, they might be called in to restore order, but always with restraint and respect for human rights.
Sounds like a constant challenge.
It is, absolutely. And here's where the where the Nigerian Army doctrine is truly evolving the realm of cyber warfare and intelligence operations.
This feels like a whole new frontier. How has the doctrine adapted to this digital battle space?
So the doctrine acknowledges that cyber warfare and cybersecurity are becoming increasingly important aspects of modern conflict.
Right.
Attacks can be launched from anywhere, targeting, critical infrastructure, disrupting communication, spreading disinformation.
So they're facing a whole new kind of enemy.
Exactly.
Right.
And they're investing in new technologies, developing new capabilities, and training personnel to operate in this digital realm. They're creating specialized units for both offensive and defensive.
So they're not just trying to defend. They're also developing the capability to launch their own cyber offensives.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Because in cyber warfare, a strong offense can be the best defense.
Right.
This is where intelligence, becomes even more crucial, knowing who's attacking you, where they're coming from, and what their capabilities are.
It's a constant game of cat and mouse.
In
the digital world.
Yeah. Wow. And the Nigerian Army doctrine is evolving to reflect this reality.
It's fascinating how the doctrine guides their actions across such a diverse range of operations.
It is.
Counterinsurgency, peacekeeping, domestic security, even cyber warfare. It seems like they've thought of everything.
Well, they've certainly tried to anticipate a wide array of scenarios. But it's important to remember that implementing this doctrine in the real world isn't always easy. Even the best laid plans can encounter obstacles. There are real challenges.
That's a good point. Let's talk about those challenges. What are some of the hurdles they have to overcome?
Well, one of the most persistent challenges is inadequate funding and resources.
Right, because maintaining a modern, effective military is expensive.
Oh, it is.
And getting the funds can be difficult, especially with all these competing demands for limited resources.
Exactly.
So they're constantly having to do more with less.
Exactly.
Right.
And this impacts training, equipment maintenance, even the support provided to troops in the field.
Right.
And then there are those concerns over human rights.
Right. We touched on this earlier. Can you elaborate on those specific concerns?
Sure. So there have been allegations of human rights abuses during counterterrorism operations, particularly in the Northeast.
So in the fight against Boko Haram, there have been accusations of actions that they go against international law and human rights standards.
Yeah, and these allegations have come from both local and international human rights groups.
And what are they doing to address these concerns?
They've made some progress in improving accountability and transparency. They've set up human rights desks. Provided training on human rights law and the rules of engagement.
Right.
And even prosecuted soldiers accused of abuses.
Right.
But it's it's an ongoing challenge.
It's clear that they're trying to do better. But there's always more work to be done.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And then there's the challenge of coordination between different government agencies.
Right, because when you have the Army, police, intelligence services, even civilian.
And we're back diving even deeper into this Nigerian Army doctrine.
It's been pretty fascinating so far, wouldn't you say? We've gone over the core parts, how it's changed over time, and even some of the challenges they face. So where do we go from here? What are the key takeaways, the things our listeners should really remember about this doctrine?
Well, there are a few that really stand out. I think first and foremost, the Nigerian Army doctrine isn't, it's not just some static document, right? It's always evolving, like in response to new threats, new technologies, and also just the lessons they've learned from the past.
So it's not just sitting on a shelf somewhere. It's more like a living, breathing guide that's always being updated.
Exactly. Yeah. And that leads us to the second key takeaway, I think. It's not just about fighting wars, right? It covers this broad range of tasks, everything from counterterrorism and peacekeeping to disaster relief and even supporting civilian authorities when there's some kind of crisis.
So they're really more like a multifaceted force, right? With a bunch of different responsibilities, not just your typical army just focused on combat.
Yeah, exactly. And you see this reflected in the doctrine's emphasis on, things like building relationships with local communities, respecting human rights, and working towards peace and stability. They really get that military solutions alone are often, they're not enough.
It's a more holistic approach, I guess you could say, really taking into account all the complexities they have to deal with in the real world.
Exactly, and building on that is the third key takeaway, which is that their actions are guided by this set of core principles. We talked about them earlier: mission command, unity of effort, that adaptability, logistical preparedness, civic military relations, and then that respect for human rights.
So those principles really provide a framework, right, that ensures they're not just focused on winning at all costs. They're acting, professionally and ethically.
Precisely. These principles set them apart. They really guide their decision making at every level. But as we discussed, there are real challenges in putting this doctrine into practice, right? Funding shortages, human rights concerns, those coordination issues, and then corruption. Well, these are all obstacles they have to constantly navigate.
It's a good reminder that turning theory into practice is never easy, especially in an environment like Nigeria.
Absolutely. But I think it's important to acknowledge, both their efforts and the progress they've made. They're really striving to be this professional and effective force.
Yeah, it's an ongoing process, right? Always improving, always adapting.
Exactly. Now let's maybe step back a bit and think about something we touched on before. The history of the Nigerian army doctrine. It's a pretty fascinating journey, wouldn't you say?
It really is, from colonial influences to post-independence struggles, from the Cold War to terrorism and cyber threats. They've really had to adapt to a lot. So why is understanding this history so important? What kind of insights can we get from looking back?
It's like putting a puzzle together, right? Each period in their history adds a piece, and it helps us appreciate all the complexities they face today. Like knowing about that colonial influence, that helps us see why certain things might still be in place. Even if they're being adapted for more modern conflicts.
That's like seeing the DNA of their military, right?
Exactly. Yeah, and the lessons they learned from the Civil War, those offer some insights into how they approach, counterinsurgency and internal security today. It's all about learning, right? Both from their successes and their failures.
Like that saying, those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it.
Precisely. And then you have, the Cold War with all those proxy wars and peacekeeping. That helps explain why Nigeria has become such a big player in international peacekeeping today.
It's a thread that runs through their whole history, right? Shaping their worldview and their approach to security, not just in their own region, but globally.
Exactly. Yeah. So by studying how the doctrine has changed, we can really connect the dots, see how the past influences the present, and understand what's made them, the force they are today.
It's about gaining a deeper understanding, I think, of their capabilities, their challenges, and their place in the world.
Absolutely. And I think it also helps us appreciate how complex military doctrine really is, right? It's not just about having, powerful weapons. It's about knowing how and when to use them and doing it ethically and effectively.
And that takes, constant adaptation and innovation and that willingness to learn and evolve. So what about looking ahead? What could the future hold for this Nigerian army doctrine? What new threats might pop up, and how might the doctrine need to change to meet those challenges?
Yeah, well, predicting the future is always tricky, but we can look at some trends, right, and potential challenges, things that might shape how the doctrine evolves in the in the years to come. I think one of the biggest factors is going to be the continued advance of technology, especially in areas like cyber warfare and AI.
Yeah, technology seems to be changing so fast these days. How do they keep up?
Well, it's this constant race to adapt, right? They'll need to invest in these new capabilities, develop new tactics, and then make sure all their people are trained to operate in this digital battle space. And think about AI and warfare. That's a whole other thing.
Yeah, it's crazy to think about uh, how AI could change the way wars are fought, how decisions are made, and even all the ethical stuff that comes into play.
Exactly, and those ethical considerations, those are really important. As AI systems get more autonomous, well, the questions about accountability and human control, they become super important. They'll need to figure out how to deal with these issues, and then come up with clear guidelines for using AI ethically.
It's not just about the technology itself; it's about how you use it.
Precisely. And then along with all these technological advances, we're also seeing how the very nature of conflict is changing. Traditional warfare, country versus country, that's becoming less common, while these asymmetric conflicts, the ones involving non-state actors, insurgents, terrorist groups, those are on the rise.
It's a whole different kind of battlefield now, right? A lot of it's thought in cities. The lines between uh, combatants and civilians are blurred, and it often involves these complex social and political things too.
Exactly, and I think this is where their experience in counterinsurgency and peacekeeping will be really valuable. We might see them focus more on things like intelligence gathering, special operations, building those relationships with communities, and getting at the root causes of those conflicts.
So it's about adapting to a more complex battlefield, right? A lot more nuances to it.
Absolutely. We might even see them shift towards what they call, non-kinetic operations. So those are, operations that don't use traditional force. They focus more on things like information warfare, psychological operations, and even humanitarian aid.
So it's more about winning hearts and minds,
All right.
disrupting, disrupting networks, undermining ideologies. It's not just about physical destruction.
Exactly. And that means they need a much more sophisticated understanding of all those social, cultural, and political parts of these conflicts.
It sounds like the future of warfare is going to be as much about ideas and narratives as it is about bombs and bullets.
Precisely, yeah. And in this world where everything's connected, multinational cooperation is going to be, even more important. Threats like terrorism, cybercrime, pandemics, and climate change, those don't stop at borders. Really address them. You gotta work together.
So we'll probably see, the Nigerian army strengthening their partnerships with other countries, sharing intelligence, and then doing these joint operations more often.
Absolutely, yeah. And this is gonna mean adapting their doctrine even more, right? To make sure they can work smoothly with partners all over the world.
It's really about being able to work together, like a global team.
Exactly. And finally, I think we'll see them put more and more emphasis on resilience and sustainability.
And what do you mean by that?
Well, it's about being able to bounce back from shocks, to change with the times, and to keep operating even when things get tough. So that might involve, things like diversifying those supply chains, not being so reliant on, foreign equipment, and then building up their own defense industry.
So it's about being more self-sufficient, right? Not so vulnerable uh, to outside pressure.
Exactly. And it's also about, thinking about those long-term consequences of their actions, not just winning right now. It's about what they call winning the peace.
So it's about working with those local communities, right?
Yeah.
To rebuild, to help the economy, and to really create a more stable and peaceful future.
Precisely. And I think this holistic view, really seeing how the military, the politics, the social stuff, and the economy are all connected, well, that's going to be more and more important in shaping their doctrine.
It's a lot to think about, but it really gives you a sense of how their doctrine isn't just about today. It's about looking ahead and getting ready for for whatever comes next.
Absolutely. The Nigerian Army Doctrine is, it's really a reflection of their commitment to security, both for their country and the region. It's always changing, always, shaped by their history, their experiences, and then their vision for the future.
It's been a really insightful look into how they approach security. What a great conversation.
I agree. It's been a pleasure diving into this topic with you. And for our listener, I hope this has given you a glimpse into the complexities of military doctrine and all the challenges the Nigerian Army has to face.
I think we've really covered a lot today, but there's still more to explore. Right?
And you've only just scratched the surface.
So stay with us. We'll be right back after a quick break. We're back and ready to wrap up our deep dive into the Nigerian Army Doctrine.
Yeah, it's been a pretty comprehensive look, hasn't it?
It really has. We started by talking about, what a military doctrine, even IS, like getting a peek behind the scenes of how an army actually plans and operates.
Right, and we've seen how this doctrine, the Nigerian Army Doctrine has changed over time, having to adapt to all sorts of challenges. Everything from fighting Boko Haram to taking part in those international peacekeeping missions.
It's a really dynamic document, I think, reflecting how complex the security situation is that they have to deal with.
Exactly. It goes way beyond just using force. It's about strategy, principles, and always adapting to a world that's constantly changing.
And we talked about those core principles that guide their actions. Things like mission command, that unity of effort, and how much emphasis they put on respecting human rights and international law.
It's a good reminder that even when you're dealing with conflict, those ethical considerations and that commitment to doing the right thing, well, those are really important.
Absolutely. And we also, we discussed some of those real world challenges they face, trying to put this doctrine into action. Things like funding, human rights concerns, problems with coordination between different agencies, and then that ever-present corruption.
Yeah, it's definitely a reminder that putting theory into practice is it's never simple, especially in a place like Nigeria.
It makes their job even more complex, I think.
It does, but in the midst of all those challenges, it's important to see the progress they've made, the lessons they've learned, and how they keep trying to improve.
Yeah, they're always working to be a more effective and professional force.
Exactly. So as we wrap up our deep dive here, what would you say is the one big takeaway you want our listener to remember about this Nigerian Army Doctrine?
That's a good question. I think the most important thing is that it's really a testament to adaptation. It's not just a bunch of rules. It shows how a country's military responds to the specific security challenges they face.
It's a living document. It's always changing, learning from what's happened before and looking ahead to a future that's full of unknowns.
Exactly. If you're interested in Nigeria's place in the world, how security works in their region, or even just how modern militaries are dealing with all these challenges today, well, studying this doctrine can really give you some valuable insights.
It really does. It gives you a look into their strategic thinking, how they approach things operationally, and all the complicated stuff they have to navigate.
And as always, we want to leave our listener with something to think about, a question that'll spark their curiosity.
Oh, a little something to ponder, right?
Exactly. So here's the question for you. As technology keeps advancing at this crazy pace, and the nature of conflict keeps changing, what new challenges do you think the Nigerian Army might have to address in their doctrine in the years to come?
That's a really great question. It gets at the heart of how military strategy always has to adapt.
It encourages everyone to think about the future of warfare, how security is changing, and what role the Nigerian Army will play in all of that.
Absolutely. And if anyone wants to dig deeper into this topic, you can find links to some additional resources in our show notes.
Stay curious and keep exploring.
Until next time.
This has been the Deep Dive, and we'll catch you on our next fascinating exploration.